Watch then at all times, and pray that you be counted worthy to escape all this about to take place, and to stand before the Son of Adam. And immediately after the distress of those days, the sun shall be darkened, and the moon shall not give its light, and the stars shall fall from the heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then the sign of the Son of Adam shall appear in the heaven, and then all the tribes of the earth shall mourn, and they shall see the Son of Adam coming on the clouds of the heaven with power and much esteem.
Hey, this is Off the Cuff, and I'm Steve from TorahFamily.org. Today we want to talk about the difference between Yeshua's second coming and his second appearing. Now, you might be saying, well, aren't they the same thing? Well, I thought so until we started doing a little more digging. Now, before we get into that too far, I do want to address some questions that's come our way regarding the Church of Philadelphia teaching. The biggest question that we get regarding that teaching is, are you sure Yeshua came twice already? So let me address this. In John chapter 20, we see where Mary sees Yeshua really close to right after he was resurrected. So let's look at what he said to her in this account. John chapter 20. Yeshua said, "Do not hold on to me, for I have not yet returned to the Father. Go instead to my brothers and tell them, I am returning to my Father and your Father, to my God and your God." So she couldn't touch him because he had not been to the Father yet. He then said that was what he was going to do. Now later that day, we see Yeshua say this to his disciples. Luke 24, "Look at my hands and my feet. It is I myself. Touch me and see. A ghost does not have flesh and bones, as you see I have." So we see that he went up to heaven and then came back down. And remember, when he was talking to Mary, he said, "Look, don't touch me. I haven't been to the Father yet." But what do we see him saying to his disciples? Because they weren't believing. He said, "Look, hey, feel me, touch me. It's me," okay? Implying what? He had been to the Father. So technically speaking, Yeshua really did come twice already. Once for his ministry, and then after his resurrection, he went up to heaven and then came back down. So yes, technically speaking, again, he's already come twice. Okay, so when we say the phrase second coming, that phrase really isn't in the scriptures. So again, you can say, well, Steve, that's technical. Yes, I know. It is technical, okay? But the point is, the phrase second coming, that phrase itself is not in the scriptures, okay? Now that leads us to the next part of this teaching, because it was in that teaching that, the Church of Philadelphia teaching, that we bring that out. And then we get an email from someone saying, like, they really enjoy the teaching, but then they said, but what do you do with this verse? And the verse is Hebrews chapter 9. Let's look at it. So Christ was sacrificed once to take away the sins of many people, and he will appear a second time, not to bear sin, but to bring salvation to those who are waiting for him. Now, at first glance, you could say, well, there it is, Steve. It's he's coming a second time. And I thought the same thing as well, but as we kept digging into it, I'm thinking, no, there's something different here. It doesn't say parousia or erhomai. It actually says appear. Now, from what we could find, this exact word for appear, which in the Greek is aphtesitai, is only used here. We couldn't find this exact word anywhere else in the scriptures. Now we know that Yeshua went up to the Father after his resurrection. Then, on that same day, first fruits, we know he came back down, again making a second coming. Yet, as the author of Hebrews says right here, we see that he will appear a second time. Now, this exact word used here for second is also used in these other places for the word second. So there is no doubt that this has to mean second here in Hebrews chapter 9. Now, as discussed in our Days of Noah teaching, the Greek in Matthew 24 definitely seems to imply that he is coming two more times, once at the parousia and then at the erhomai. Now, we see that Yeshua came down from heaven two times already 2,000 years ago. So, he came two times already, and he will come two more times according to Matthew 24. That being said, it seems this explains the second appearing as mentioned in Hebrews chapter 9. Now you're probably saying, well, how's that? Well, obviously, he appeared once already, and that appearing included him coming down two times. So the second appearing will include him coming down two times as well, just as explained in our teaching as in the days of Noah. In other words, his first appearance actually included him coming down two times for his ministry and just after his resurrection. Likewise, his second appearance will include him coming down two times as well. First, when he takes his bride at his parousia, per Deuteronomy 24:5. And then, right after he goes back for the Day of Atonement for his duties in heaven as high priest. After he does his duties as the high priest, he comes back for all at the resurrection, the Day of Atonement, when all are made spotless. So, two appearances, as Hebrew 9 suggests, which contains a total of 4 comings, 2 for each appearance. It's almost like in a play. In a play, you have multiple acts, right? And then in a particular act, you may see a certain actor come out several times on the stage during that one act. So the same principle here. The appearances can serve as the acts, if you will. And Yeshua has several times he'll come out on the stage during those acts, during his appearance. So again, you have multiple acts in a play, and in this type, if you will, here we see multiple appearances for Yeshua. And during those appearances, he'll come out on the stage of life, if you will, several times. In his case, 2 times during each appearance. So 2 times during each act. Hopefully that makes sense.
Because you have guarded my word of endurance, I also shall guard you from the hour of trial which shall come upon all the world, to try those who dwell on the earth. Do not be afraid of what you are about to suffer. See, the devil is about to throw some of you into prison, in order to try you, and you shall have pressure 10 days. Be trustworthy until death, and I shall give you the crown of life. Watch then at all times, and pray that you be counted worthy to escape all this about to take place, and to stand before the Son of Adam. Because you have guarded my word of endurance, I also shall guard you from the hour of trial which shall come upon all the world, to try those who dwell on the earth. Do your utmost to present yourself approved to Elohim, a worker who does not need to be ashamed, rightly handling the word of truth. Before she labored, she gave birth. Before a pain came to her, she was delivered of a male child. Who has heard the like of this? Who has seen the like of these? Is a land brought forth in one day? Is a nation born at once? For as soon as Zion labored, she gave birth to her children. And a great sign was seen in the heaven, a woman clad with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. And being pregnant, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. You have seen what I did to the Mitzrites, and how I bore you on eagle's wings and brought you to myself. And now, if you diligently obey my voice and shall guard my covenant, then you shall be my treasured possession above all the peoples, for all the earth is mine, and you shall be to me a reign of priests and a set-apart nation. Those are the words which you are to speak to the children of Israel. And all the people answered together and said, All that Yahweh has spoken we shall do. So Moshe brought back the words of the people to Yahweh. And a great sign was seen in the heaven, a woman clad with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. And being pregnant, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. And a great sign was seen in the heaven, a woman clad with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. And being pregnant, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. See, I am giving up those of the congregation of Satan, who say they are Yehudim and are not, but lie. See, I am making them come and worship before your feet, and to know that I have loved you. And the blasphemy of those who say they are Yehudim and are not, but are a congregation of Satan. And she bore a male child, who was to shepherd all nations with a rod of iron, and her child was caught away to Elohim and to his throne. And there came to be fighting in the heaven. Michael and his messengers fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his messengers fought, but they were not strong enough, nor was a place found for them in the heaven any longer. When a man has taken a new wife, let him not go out into the army, nor let any matter be imposed upon him. He shall be exempt 1 year for the sake of his home, to rejoice with his wife whom he has taken. And they gathered them together to the place called in Hebrew Har Megiddo. You have said in your heart, let me go up to the heavens, let me raise my throne above the stars of El, and let me sit in the mount of appointment on the sides of the north. Because Yahweh has compassion on Yaakov, and shall again choose Israel, and give them rest in their own land, and the strangers shall join them, and they shall cling to the house of Yaakov, and peoples shall take them and bring them to their own place, and the house of Israel shall possess them for servants and female servants in the land of Yahweh, and they shall make captives of their captors, and rule over their oppressors. And it shall be, in the day Yahweh gives you rest from your sorrow, and from your trouble and the hard service in which you were made to serve, that you shall take up this proverb against the sovereign of Babel, and say, How the oppressor has ceased, the gold gatherer ceased. Yahweh has broken the staff of the wrong, the scepter of the rulers. he who struck the people in wrath with ceaseless blows, he who ruled the nations in displeasure, is persecuted and no one restrains. All the earth is at rest and at peace, they shall break forth into singing. Even the cypress trees rejoice over you, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, Since you were cut down, no woodcutter has come up against us. Sheol from beneath is excited about you, to meet you at your coming. It stirs up the dead for you, all the chief ones of the earth. It has raised up from their thrones all the sovereigns of the nations. All of them respond and say to you, Have you also become as weak as we? Have you become like us? Your arrogance has been brought down to Sheol, and the sound of your stringed instruments. The maggot is spread under you, and worms cover you. How you have fallen from the heavens, O Hallel, son of the morning! You have been cut down to the ground, you who laid low the nations. For you have said in your heart, Let me go up to the heavens, let me raise my throne above the stars of El, and let me sit in the mount of appointment on the sides of the north. Let me go up above the heights of the clouds, let me be like the Most High. And Yahweh said to Moshe, See, I am coming to you in the thick cloud, so that the people hear when I speak with you, and believe you forever. And Moshe reported the words of the people to Yahweh. And Yahweh said to Moshe, Go to the people and set them apart today and tomorrow, and they shall wash their garments, and shall be prepared by the third day. For on the third day Yahweh shall come down upon Mount Sinai before the eyes of all the people. And you shall make a border for the people all around, saying, Take heed to yourselves that you do not go up to the mountain or touch the border of it. Whoever touches the mountain shall certainly be put to death. Not a hand is to touch it, but he shall certainly be stoned or shot with an arrow. Whether man or beast, he shall not live. When the Yovel sounds long, let them come near the mountain. And Moshe came down from the mountain to the people, and set the people apart, and they washed their garments. And he said to the people, Be prepared by the third day, do not come near a wife. And it came to be on the third day in the morning, that there were thunders and lightnings, and a thick cloud on the mountain, and the voice of a shofar was very strong, and all the people who were in the camp trembled. And Moshe brought the people out of the camp to meet with Elohim, and they stood at the foot of the mountain. And Mount Sinai was in smoke, all of it because Yahweh descended upon it in fire. And its smoke went up like the smoke of a furnace, and all the mountain trembled exceedingly. And when a voice of the shofar sounded long, and became very strong, Moshe spoke, and Elohim answered him by voice. And Yahweh came down upon Mount Sinai, on the top of the mountain. And Yahweh called Moshe to the top of the mountain, and Moshe went up. And Yahweh said to Moshe, Go down, and warn the people, lest they break through unto Yahweh to see, and many of them fall. And let the priests who come near Yahweh set themselves apart too, lest Yahweh break out against them. And Moshe said to Yahweh, The people are not able to come up to Mount Sinai, for you warned us, saying, Make a border around the mountain, and set it apart. And Yahweh said to him, Come, go down, and then come up, you and Aharon with you. But do not let the priests and the people break through to come up to Yahweh, lest he break out against them. And Moshe went down to the people, and spoke to them. And Elohim spoke all these words, saying, I am Yahweh your Elohim, who brought you out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of slavery. You have no other mighty ones against my face. You do not make for yourself a carved image, or any likeness of that which is in the heavens above, or which is in the earth beneath, or which is in the waters under the earth. You do not bow down to them, nor serve them. For I, Yahweh your Elohim, am a jealous El, visiting the crookedness of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing loving commitment to thousands, to those who love me and guard my commands. You do not bring the name of Yahweh your Elohim to naught, for Yahweh does not leave the one unpunished who brings his name to naught. Remember the Sabbath day, to set it apart. 6 days you labor, and shall do all your work. But the seventh day is a Sabbath of Yahweh your Elohim. You do not do any work, you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your male servant, nor your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days Yahweh made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them, and rested the seventh day. Therefore Yahweh blessed the Sabbath day and set it apart. Respect your father and your mother, so that your days are prolonged upon the soil which Yahweh your Elohim is giving you. You do not murder, you do not commit adultery, you do not steal, you do not bear false witness against your neighbor, you do not covet your neighbor's house, you do not covet your neighbor's wife, nor his male servant, nor his female servant, nor his ox, nor his donkey, or whatever belongs to your neighbor. And all the people saw the thunders and the lightning flashes, the voice of the shofar and the mountain smoking. And the people saw it, and they trembled and stood at a distance, and said to Moshe, You speak with us and we hear, but let not Elohim speak with us, lest we die. And Moshe said to the people, Do not fear, for Elohim has come to prove you, and in order that his fear be before you, so that you do not sin. After this I looked, and saw a door having been opened in the heaven. And the first voice which I heard was like a trumpet speaking with me, saying, Come up here, and I shall show you what has to take place after this. And immediately I came to be in the Spirit, and saw a throne set in the heaven, and one sat on the throne. And he who sat there was like a jasper and a ruby stone in appearance. And there was a rainbow around the throne, like an emerald in appearance. And around the throne were 24 thrones, and on the thrones I saw 24 elders sitting, dressed in white robes, and they had crowns of gold on their heads. And out of the throne came lightnings and thunders and voices, and 7 lamps of fire were burning before the throne, which are the 7 spirits of Elohim. Now, brothers, as to the times and the seasons, you do not need to be written to, for you yourselves know very well that the day of Yahweh comes as a thief in the night. For when they say, Peace and safety, then suddenly destruction comes upon them, as labor pains upon a pregnant woman, and they shall not escape. But you, brothers, are not in darkness, so that this day should overtake you as a thief. Before she labored, she gave birth. Before a pain came to her, she was delivered of a male child. Who has heard the like of this? Who has seen the like of these? Is a land brought forth in one day? Is a nation born at once? For as soon as Zion labored, she gave birth to her children. And Yahweh shall go forth, and he shall fight against those nations, as he fights in the day of battle. And in that day his feet shall stand upon the Mount of Olives, which faces Jerusalem on the east. And the Mount of Olives shall be split in two, from east to west, a very great valley, and half of the mountain shall move toward the north, and half of it toward the south. And a great sign was seen in the heaven, a woman clad with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head a crown of 12 stars. And being pregnant, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. And another sign was seen in the heaven, and see, a great, fiery red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns on his heads. And his tail draws a third of the stars of the heaven, and throws them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was about to give birth, to devour her child as soon as it was born. And she bore a male child, who was to shepherd all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught away to Elohim and to his throne. And the woman fled into the wilderness, where she had a place prepared by Elohim, to be nourished there 1,260 days. And there came to be fighting in the heaven. Michael and his messengers fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his messengers fought, but they were not strong enough, nor was a place found for them in the heaven any longer. And the great dragon was thrown out, the serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who leads all the world astray. He was thrown to the earth, and his messengers were thrown out with him. And I heard a loud voice saying in the heaven, Now have come the deliverance, and the power, and the reign of our Elohim, and the authority of his Messiah. For the accuser of our brothers, who accused them before our Elohim day and night, has been thrown down. And they overcame him because of the blood of the Lamb, and because of the word of their witness, and they did not love their lives to the death. Because of this rejoice, O heavens, and you who dwell in them. Woe to the earth and the sea, because the devil has come down to you, having great wrath, knowing that he has little time. And when the dragon saw that he had been thrown to the earth, he persecuted the woman who gave birth to the male child. And the woman was given 2 wings of a great eagle, to fly into the wilderness to her place, where she is nourished for a time and times and half a time, from the presence of the serpent. And out of his mouth the serpent spewed water like a river after the woman, to cause her to be swept away by the river. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened its mouth and swallowed up the river which the dragon had spewed out of his mouth. And the dragon was enraged with the woman, and he went to fight with the remnant of her seed, those guarding the commands of Elohim, and possessing the witness of Yeshua Messiah. And after this I saw 4 messengers standing at the 4 corners of the earth, holding the 4 winds of the earth, that the wind should not blow on the earth, nor on the sea, nor on any tree. And I saw another messenger coming up from the rising of the sun, holding the seal of the living Elohim. And he cried with a loud voice to the 4 messengers, to whom it was given to harm the earth and the sea, saying, Do not harm the earth, nor the sea, nor the trees, until we have sealed the servants of our Elohim upon their foreheads. And I heard the number of those who were sealed, 144,000, sealed out of all the tribes of the children of Israel. And I looked and saw a lamb standing on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000, having his father's name written upon their foreheads. And I heard a voice out of the heaven, like the voice of many waters, and like the voice of loud thunder. And I heard the sound of harpists playing their harps. And they sang a renewed song before the throne, and before the 4 living creatures and the elders. And no one was able to learn that song except 144,000 who were redeemed from the earth. They are those who were not defiled with women, for they are maidens. They are those following the Lamb wherever he leads them on. They were redeemed from among men, being firstfruits to Elohim and to the Lamb. And in their mouth was found no falsehood, for they are blameless before the throne of Elohim. And Yahweh spoke to Moshe in the wilderness of Sinai, in the tent of appointment, on the first day to the 2nd new moon. in the 2nd year after they had come out of the land of Mitzrayim, saying, Take a census of all the congregation of the children of Israel, by their clans, by their fathers' houses, according to the number of names, every male, head by head, from 20 years old and above, everyone going out to the army in Israel. Number them by their divisions, you and Aharon. Watch then at all times, and pray that you be counted worthy to escape all this about to take place, and to stand before the Son of Adam. Blow a shofar in Zion, and sound an alarm in my set-apart mountain. Let all the inhabitants of the earth tremble, for the day of Yahweh is coming, for it is near, a day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and thick darkness, like the morning clouds spread over the mountains. A people many and strong, the like of whom has never been, nor shall there ever be again after them, to the years of many generations. Ahead of them a fire has consumed, and behind them a flame burns. Before them the land is like the garden of Eden, and behind them a desert waste, and from them there is no escape. Their appearance is like the appearance of horses, and they run like steeds. As the noise of chariots they leap over mountain tops, as the noise of a flaming fire consuming stubble, as a mighty people set in battle array. Before them peoples are in anguish, all faces become flushed. They run like mighty men, they climb the wall like men of battle. Everyone goes on his way, and they do not break ranks, and they do not press one another. Everyone goes in his path. They fall among the weapons, but they do not stop. They rush on the city, they run on the wall. They climb into the houses, they enter at the windows like a thief. The earth shall tremble before them, the heavens shall shake, sun and moon shall be darkened, and the stars withdraw their brightness. And Yahweh shall give forth his voice before his army, for his camp is very great. For mighty is the doer of his word. For the day of Yahweh is great and very awesome, and who does bear it? Yet even now, declares Yahweh, turn to me with all your heart, and with fasting, and with weeping, and with mourning. And tear your heart and not your garments, and turn back to Yahweh your Elohim. For he shows favor and is compassionate, patient and of great loving commitment, and he shall relent concerning the evil. Who knows, he might turn and relent and leave a blessing behind him, a grain offering and a drink offering for Yahweh your Elohim. Blow a shofar in Zion, set apart a fast, call an assembly, gather the people, set the assembly apart, assemble the elders, gather the children and nursing babes. Let a bridegroom come out from his room, and a bride from her dressing room. Let